scratch that itch, it won't keep you at bay. Lying tied to your hollow shape, and I wish that you would go away. Bending over backwards, yeah. Check out the break my spine. Bending over backwards, yeah. Check out the break my spine. Do you feel me under your skin every day? When you scratch that itch, does it keep me at bay? I'm still tied to your hollow shape, and I wish that you would go away. Bending over backwards, yeah. Check out the break my spine. Bending over backwards, yeah. Check out the break my spine. Won't you go away? Oh, you'll go away. Won't you go away? Oh, you'll go away. Won't you go away? Bending over backwards, yeah. Check out the break my spine. Bending over backwards, yeah. Check out the break my Once I traveled with the scale of time, taken by surprise. You were there and you were mine. Future and memory seem to collide. Yeah, I know it hurts, but this is just my present mind. Perpetual feelings that glisten and then seem to hide. I move with the flow and then simmer back down by your side. Oh. We complete the jigsaw, honey. Let's get closer. Where did all your pride go, honey? It's not over now. We live in this puzzle, breathe in this other life. We complete the jigsaw, honey, and start over. You took my breath away, how'd you do that? Said you had to go, then in your own time you came back. The garden is secret until the gates unlatched. Yeah, I know it hurts, but this is just my present mind. Perpetual feelings that come and then move to one side. I'm rounding the corners as you take it all in your stride. We complete the jigsaw, honey. Let's get closer. Let it all your pride go, honey. It's not over now. We live in this puzzle, breathe in this other love. We complete the jigsaw, honey. Let's start over. Good stuff. Welcome everybody. Hello, good afternoon, and thanks for coming out to Music Connections outside of Belfast. My name is Lynn Best, and I'm one of the team behind Music Connections. And I've been working with Charlene, the lovely Charlene at Oh Yeah, on today's programme. So we do have a great lineup for you this afternoon, kicking off soon with the good folk at PRS Foundation, bit of a funding workshop. And then we're going to break for a quick lunch, proper Belfast lunch. We've got Belfast Baps, we've got Tato Crisps. So knock yourself out, and then come back and join us at 1:30 for an afternoon of discussion, debate, networking, whatever you want to call it. We've got a few topics lined up to look at some of the challenges that are facing the NI music sector at the minute. Now, we didn't quite have time to fit Brexit in, but I think that might be a day in itself, though I did notice this morning that the Spanish government have scrapped the need for short-term worker visas to go on tour in Spain, so that's some good news coming out of that space. But what we will be looking at this afternoon is the nighttime economy. And if you're not sure what that really means, or you want to get into the detail of that, hang around, because Free the Night will tell you all about it. We've got the online music economy, which is all about how to make money online with your music and which platforms work for independent artists and what has worked, what hasn't worked, hearing from people who have been there, done that, and are still very much involved in music. And then we'll be finishing off with perhaps the most important panel of the day, which is looking after your health in music. Should really be point one for everything that you're doing in music, is looking after your physical and mental health. So we'll be looking at what's available here on the ground in Northern Ireland to help you in your music career with that. So before we get into that, I just wanted to ask, before you came along today, had anyone in the room heard of Music Connections? And don't be offended. You won't be offended me if you haven't. But yeah, put your hand up if you had heard of it before. Great. Well, this is good, because then you get to hear about it. And can I also check, what kind of people do we have in the room today? Have we got artists, performers, songwriters, composers, music creators? Raise your hand every time I call out something that you identify with. Great. Have we got any producers, engineers, studio staff? Yeah, some of them too. What about music managers? Got any Charlene? Any record labels or music publishers? Yep, great. What else have I got on the list? Anyone in PR, marketing, journalism, radio, broadcast? Yep, lovely. Music retail, or are you working for a music organisation, an arts organisation? Yep, a few of those. Music education, or you're studying music? Yeah, a few of you too. And anything else that I haven't mentioned? You're here today? No, got you all. All right. Well, listen, I just want to take a couple of minutes to tell you about Music Connections for those of you in the room that don't know about it. So we launched it in July this year, and it came about because of a number of conversations, especially throughout lockdown, where people said, I'd love to get more information. You know, I can go here and get information on funding. I can go there and get information on health services, or there's a random event over here. It'd be really good to bring it together in one place, just so that I just can go to that one-stop shop and find out all the things that I need to know that can help my career to develop. So we set up Music Connections with a view to do three things. So one was to educate people, to educate musicians or anyone working in music about information to help develop their career. So that's everything from funding opportunities, any trade bodies or membership bodies that you might want to join to support your career and meet other people in the same position as yourself. Latest news, music business news. So we're not about gigs, it's about the business of music and getting you that education that you need to take those next steps in your career. And yeah, letting you know about all the events that are happening, be that here in Northern Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, mainland UK, online, in person, whatever it is, all in one place. So the education arm is a big aim.
The second thing then is to champion. So we have a directory on the site, and that's where we want to have everyone on it. If you're a musician, you're a music organisation, you're a music manager, you're a freelancer, you're working on music, you've got skills to offer, we want it to be a shop window for what's happening in music in Northern Ireland. So there's a place that people can go to from the outside world and see what on earth everyone's up to over here and connect with people. And then the last thing is about that connection point. And we know that's a bit of maybe a longer term goal, but we're hoping that through Music Connections, we can bring people together for things like today, for events, for discussions, even for campaigning. If there are things you want to get together and campaign about, Music Connections is that one place that you can come to feed into that together as a sector. So very quickly, in terms of how we're doing that, there's a website, musicconnections.com. So go there, that's where you can find out about the news, information and events. There's a monthly newsletter, which you can sign up to for free on the website. And just to give you an idea, in November's newsletter, the sort of stuff that we had funding from the Arts Council that was available, from British Council, Help Musicians, Arts and Business. We had a job opportunity that was shared there as well. We put out that Live Music Now in Northern Ireland is recruiting musicians for their work in schools and hospitals across Northern Ireland. Loads of free events, as I say, right across the UK and Ireland. So that's the sort of thing, just trying to bring all that handy information together in one place. So sign up for that because there might be something useful in it for you. We're on social media, as you can see there, Twitter and Instagram, it's Music Connect NI. On Facebook, it's Music Connections. So check us out, share our posts, follow us, get involved. And then last but not least, the directory. So as I say, we want that to be a shop window, and we know that's not going to develop overnight. That's going to take some time, but we want as much of the sector on there as possible. So as I say, if you're a musician, you're in a band, you're a freelancer working in music, you're a drum tech, you're a tour manager, or you're a music organisation based in Northern Ireland, we want to profile you on there so that people can find you and connect with you. So to do that and to get on there, you just email me at news@musicconnections.com, and it's all on the website anyway, and just send me through the information that it asks you to. And then I have the lovely job of uploading that once a week, and I'll make sure that you're on there and do a shout out on socials for you. So that's a real quick run through Music Connections. Hopefully that's told you something you didn't already know. The longer term aim is to get a bit of funding. So if there's any funders in the room, it'd be great, because we want to make it really useful and develop it into something that you all use. And when you do check it out, if you've got any feedback or anything else that would be really useful to put on there, please feel free again to email me at news@musicconnections.com. So I'm going to shut up and hand over to the first act that you're here to see. And that's the lovely Wesley and Asia from PRS Foundation. Over to you guys. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Wesley. I'm a grants coordinator at PRS Foundation. This is Asia.
Hello, nice to meet you all. And I heard the little funder moment there. I'm also a grants coordinator at the PRS Foundation. It's lovely to be here today. Cool.
So, PRS Foundation is a funding body. We are the UK's leading charitable funder of new music and talent development. We do that through multiple grant schemes for individuals and organisations, and we focus mostly on timely investment in opportunities that will help progress your career, and that can be either creatively or professionally. Our core aim as an organisation is to help music creators of all backgrounds realise their potential. We are going to talk to you today broadly about all of the grant schemes that we offer. It is, as I say, quite broad, probably quite a lot to take in. After the session, we'll be doing some one-to-ones, and there is a sign-up sheet at the back of the room there, which you can sign up and speak to us. And that is really key, because all of our grant schemes are sort of shaped to your individual needs. So while we can talk broadly and give you a good idea of what you should and shouldn't be applying for, it's much more beneficial to come and speak to us. So I'd really stress you to do that.
We won't bite, I promise.
Yeah. Another key point to make, I think, particularly for any early career people who are here, the PRS Foundation was set up about 21 years ago now by PRS for Music, but it is now an independent charity and operates separately to PRS for Music. So for most of our grant schemes, early career in particular, and open funds, you don't actually have to be a member of PRS for Music to apply. You just can't be a member of any other collection society. So if you're yet to join a collection society, you can apply for those grant schemes. Let's just check this works.
Hey.
Excellent.
Very good.
So yeah, we give out around 500 grants a year, and we focus on new music. So what we mean by that is that you just need to be creating your own new original music. So generally, particularly again with our open funds, which I'll talk about in a little while, it has to be about the costs associated with creating music or performing new music. So it can't be based on something you did 5 years ago, essentially. Most of our grants vary in size between very low offers of £500 up to £25,000, with the highest grant schemes based for organisations, really. Yeah.
Cool. And as Wesley mentioned, we have some key funding priorities at the PRS Foundation, which are up on the screen now. So this is to support the creation, performance and promotion of outstanding new music. So at the PRS Foundation, we're really interested in hearing your music. And we'll come on to a little bit later what application forms usually look like, but there's always a section that puts examples of your music. And we always say, put the most exciting, relevant, up-to-date music examples in there, because we want to get excited about your music. The second is to enable the UK's most talented music creators to realise their potential. So we're always interested in what are you applying for and how is it going to help you creatively and professionally go? Where is it going to take you to? What next steps or doors is it going to open for you? And the third criteria is to inspire audiences. So how are you targeting an audience? How are you growing your fan base? And, obviously recently the live sector has been less accessible, but how are you reaching fan bases through streaming? How are you engaging with them on your social media? How are you creating that sort of conversation and getting others excited about your music? Last year was a really busy year for the PRS Foundation. I'm going to bore you slightly with some stats just for reference, but you can sort of glaze out at this point. So we received 4,930 applications in 2020, which is a 48% increase in demand across our deadlines. But we did pledge over £3 million to music creators and organisations. So it's just a bit of a scale as to what we do, but we help music creators across the width and breadth of the UK.
Cool. So we're looking at here. So that is sort of an overview of everything that we have and how we split our funds up. So we talk a lot internally about the talent development pipeline, and that sort of shows their kind of all career levels, early career, next steps, and international, and that's all of the different stuff. So if you're an organisation, top 3 is for you. If you're an individual, everything below that is for you. I need to speak about that, really. That's kind of all of it. Yeah.
The other thing that I said is that we're going to PDF this presentation and send it round to everyone, so that if you want access to this after the session, you should be able to access this. So don't feel like you have to write loads of notes down. This is, again, just a little bit of a slide about who we funded previously. So we really pride ourselves on being involved in every step of the music creator's journey. And this is just a couple of examples of some of our success stories. But we want to hear from you. And again, I would encourage you to come and talk to us in these one-to-one sessions, because we want to hear what you're up to. So again, Wesley's just touched on the talent development pipeline, but again, this is a sort of visual representation of the way that our music creator supports. So whether you're a songwriter, producer, you work behind the scenes in songwriting for other people, or you're in a performing band and you write your own songs. Again, this is sort of a visual representation of how you would progress through the talent development pipeline and what schemes sit in which areas. And we're going to talk in depth about these little schemes as we go through, but again, a good visual representation and a good reference point for afterwards.
Cool. So this is the Open Fund and Women Make Music. These are, as the title suggests, open funds for everybody. That's all genres and all career levels. So whatever you do, you can apply for this. It's up to £5,000 for music creators. And again, that's based on new music creation, new music performance. So if you're going on tour, you need to hire a van and pay for the promotion of that. You can apply for that. If you're making a record, you want to pay for mastering, mixing, engineering, you can apply for that. One key thing to note with this sort of stuff as well is there's quite a big disparity between what's acceptable or what's perceived to be acceptable in the classical world and what's perceived to be acceptable in the pop world. It is okay to pay yourself for your time to create music. If you're a classical musician, you wouldn't make something without being paid. If you're a pop musician, people do it for free in their bedroom all the time. So when you're applying to us to do something, your time is valuable. So make sure that you're paying yourself, and definitely make sure you're paying people you're working with, because if you're not, you won't get funded. Also, We have 3 deadlines per year, so that's February, June, and October generally. If you sign up to our newsletters and our social medias, that's where we announce all of that stuff. It does sort of move around a little. So because these are all career levels, we also offer video applications, which means if you feel a bit uncomfortable writing a form, or you don't think you can get across what you want to do well enough in writing, you can just film yourself talking about your project, and then that is your application. And in some ways, you can get a little bit of your personality across in a video that doesn't come across in an application form. So if you think that appeals to you, you can do that. You still have to answer the same questions, and we still want to know what you're doing in the same way, so make sure you read the guidance properly when you do it. But that is an option. And yeah, unfortunately, can't tell you when the next deadline is. It'll be first week of February, I hope.
Yeah, you'll see lots of deadline pending 2020. Unfortunately, on this presentation, we are at the moment juggling all of our deadlines for 2020, but we do send out an email in December with the year's deadlines coming out. So apologies for the lack of specificity.
Cool. And this is the Composers Fund, which is one of our next stage funds. So it's a much higher level than the Open Fund. You'd have to be sort of mid-career and up, so well established already, and applying for a very significant opportunity, because essentially if you get this grant, it's very unlikely you're going to get many others from us, because this is the point where we would hope to be pushing you into being in a position to build a long-term sustainable career as a musician, which is what we essentially want to do across all of our funds. So there's only 2 deadlines for this a year. It's up to £10,000, and again, time to create is pretty key for this sort of stuff. Recording, touring, all of those things. It's a bit more broad than the Open Fund because of the level. People need different things, so whatever you need at that particular time is normally eligible. But yeah, if there are any people who are in the classical world, this is the one for you.
Then on the other side, I'm going to talk about the PPL Momentum Fund. So the Momentum Fund is also one of our next step funds. So you can apply for between £5,000 and £15,000. And it's for all performing music creators working in commercial music genres. They're at a crucial career tipping point. Again, as Wesley said, this is one of our next step funds. So we're looking for artists that have a track record to date and have that growing momentum behind them, and are able to demonstrate like a strong UK fan base, that sort of growing of national press and radio coverage. You've done perhaps a UK-wide tour, or you're playing gigs outside of your local region, and you're at that sort of precipice point. And this project is going to be the thing that can have a significant kind of catalyst effect on your next steps over the next 18 months to 2 years. We run 4 deadlines for PPL Momentum per year, so they're roughly every quarter. And we can fund through Momentum marketing, touring, recording, and promotions. But I would always suggest coming in for an ambitious campaign, because this is one of those next step funds. And what, as Wesley said, once you've had momentum, you can't come back to something like the Open Fund. So really making sure that that timing is right for you, that this is that moment, and this is the project that's really going to enable you to explode, right? Because that's what we want for you. So thinking that through and coming in with an ambitious project is really key for PPL Momentum. I'm also going to talk about the Hitmaker Fund, which is another one of our next step funds. But Hitmaker is specifically for behind the scenes songwriters and producers that contribute to the songwriting. So this is not a fund for performing producers or songwriters that are the lead songwriter, for example, in a band. This is specifically for those of you working behind the scenes in the studio with your co-writes, with your collaborators, getting cuts on tracks that are being released. And this is very much a fund that will allow and enable development. So you can apply for things like studio hire costs. If you're an engineer but you want to spend more time working on the creation of music, you can apply for time to create. So taking that time outside of your engineer job to allow more sessions for co-writing and collaborations. You can apply for equipment costs. So where you've got an outdated plugin, or you're sending tracks to someone that you want to work with and they're saying, look, I need it to sound like this, I need it to do that. You can apply for a percentage of equipment costs. And you can also apply to attend things like international songwriting camps. So going to Sweden to work with co-writers and collaborators to further your professional creative development. I love Hitmaker, it's great. Another thing that we do at the PRS Foundation is we do fund international attendance at showcase events. So this is not international festivals, so you couldn't apply to go to Coachella. But if you have been invited by an official showcase, such as South by Southwest, Eurosonic, Reeperbahn, you can apply to our International Showcase Fund to assist with the costs associated with attending that showcase event. So we understand that for those artists taking their first steps into international territories, it's an incredibly expensive thing to do. And you've got to look at things like your rehearsal time, your flights. If you're going to the States and now Europe, you have to be looking at visas and the costs of covering that for your band. So International Showcase Fund is when you've had that official invite from a conference, you're taking your first steps into international territories. You maybe have some interest in that territory already. So there's a demonstrable demand for your music in the territory that you're going to. International Showcase Fund you can apply to help cover those costs of showcasing. And what you'd need to demonstrate is that I'm going to this conference and I've got a plan as to who I want to talk to. I want to meet that publisher over there. I want to talk to that press agent over there, and I want to come back with business wins. We've also recently pivoted the International Showcase Fund quite a lot, as you can imagine. There has not been that much international showcasing over the last 2 years. So we now can also support artists who've been invited to showcase virtually. So you might have seen last year, South by Southwest did a virtual conference, Eurosonic did a virtual conference. So you can also apply if you've been invited to showcase virtually to cover the costs of that high quality content creation. So that live stream video, if you've been invited to an official showcase. There's a lot of strands to International Showcase Fund that get very complicated because of all of this, the COVID pivots. So if anyone is interested or has been invited to showcase or is looking to understand a little bit more about international showcasing, do please come talk to us afterwards.
Cool. So we weren't really going to touch on this one too much because I didn't think it would be very relevant, but I saw a few people put their hands up from being from organisations, which is fantastic to see. So we also provide funding for organisations, and that's up to £10,000. Again, it's 3 deadlines per year that runs in tandem with the Open Fund for Music Creators and Women Make Music. We are always an artist first funder. So even though it's called the Open Fund for Organizations, it's not for core costs of running your business or starting a business. It's for helping with the costs that are directly involved with developing music creators. So that could be anything from being an established festival and offering some opening slots to early career musicians to kind of give them a higher platform, some mentoring maybe. Anything that develops music creators, you can apply for that. Yeah, this is a really great fund for us because we only support over 18s individually. It's only through other organizations that we can reach younger age groups. So if you're working with anyone below 18, it's always good to come through for that fund as well. But yeah, if there's any organizations here who are interested in that, definitely come and book a one-to-one and see if there's anything you do that would fit.
So we get asked this question a lot, which is how do I apply? Firstly, all of our applications to the PRS Foundation are made through our online portal. You cannot submit a written application. Please don't post me an application. It does happen. You'd be amazed. What we would say is go to the website, have a look at the schemes that are available, have a think about where you are in your career, what project you're looking to apply for. That will sort of guide you as to which scheme is the right fit for you. And if you have questions, again, we're very happy to answer anything, but think about where you are in your career and what the project is. We'll say this again and again and again, then check the eligibility criteria. You'd be amazed how many applications are immediately rejected just because they're not fulfilling the basic criteria of eligibility. I know it's a lot of information to read, but do, because otherwise you're going to do yourselves a disservice and you're going to waste your own time. And then, yes, we have an applications portal, which is called FlexiGrant, which is where all of our application forms are held. You can submit them through that portal and you get updates to them from that portal. That was not a sentence. You can also start an application, save it, come back to it, get someone else to look over it before you submit it. You don't have to do it all in one big rush. So start early is my advice. Don't leave it the day before the deadline and smash it out really quickly. Take a breather, reread it. And then once an application is submitted to us, it's assessed by expert industry advisors. So we have a pool of over 200 independent advisors that work for the PRS Foundation within the music industry across the UK in all genres that you could possibly imagine. So it's assessed by independent industry advisors, and then we will give you a decision. It varies between schemes, but between 8 and 12 weeks from your submission. You will always hear from us. Our emails sometimes end up in people's junk folders, but you will always get an outcome on your application. We have a 2-stage assessment process. So once it's done first stage with our independent industry advisors, those that then score highest go to a decision panel, which again is made up of a further selection of industry professionals. The other thing that I would say is don't be disheartened. It is an incredibly competitive process, and we do our best to offer feedback sessions if you are unsuccessful, where you can call us and get the feedback on your application. If you are offered the opportunity to get feedback, please take it up, because sometimes it's really simple tweaks that could really help you make a better application the next time round, or help you with other applications that you might be making in the future. Anything to add?
Yeah, just on that, just the way the assessment works in general, that is the real strength of our process, in that no matter what you are applying for, it will be assessed by someone who works in that world and understands it. So it's not, if you're a metal band, it's not going to be assessed by someone who only likes jazz. It will be assessed by someone who loves what you do. So you can always write your application knowing that the person reading it will know what you're talking about. And the feedback, again, it might even be something silly that makes your application ineligible. But if you don't speak to us, we can't tell you. And then you just make that simple tweak, and then suddenly you've got a really strong application. So yeah, the feedback does work. We know it works. We've had situations where people are more likely to be successful after they've had feedback. So yeah, it can really make the difference. And as Asia says, try not to be disheartened, because it is very competitive. Quite rare for people to be funded first time. It might take a couple of attempts. We always prioritize first time applicants through our open fund and Women Make Music as well. So we're not funding the same people over and over again. So it does churn through. So yeah, it's really important not to be disheartened about it.
Yes. The other thing as well is, because we run so many schemes, there's a page on our website that is all of our deadlines and all of our upcoming deadlines. It's really good to keep an eye on that, because obviously it can be a bit confusing. There's like 3 different schemes open at once. You don't know when the deadline is. We try and open everything at least 4 weeks before the deadline, sometimes longer if we possibly can, but keep an eye on that deadlines page, because that will show you, oh, it's open now. Oh, the deadline's this day. And it allows you to plan and think and consider. And again, social media, Instagram, all of that jazz.
Cool. So here's all the forms are different, obviously, for each grant scheme, but this is the general format that you'll find. Generally, we just want to know who you are and why you're applying. The key thing here with your music and your plan, I think across all of our schemes, definitely across most of our schemes, no one likes to score music. It's not a sport, but you have to do something in a grant scheme. 50% of the score that your application receives is based solely on the musical examples that you provide. So it's really important that you provide us with up-to-date musical examples that are relevant to the project that you want to do. And that means essentially a demo of what you're wanting to do is better than something that was finished and mastered 5 years ago. We want to know where you're going more than we want to know where you've been. So that's really, really key, I think. And again, when talking about the assessors, they will be from your world. They know what you're talking about, and they will be expecting a demo, and you're not going to be penalized. No one's going to say, oh, that doesn't sound good enough if it's a demo.
Wasn't well mastered.
At least it's a good example of what you want to do. So definitely go down that road. And then the other 50% is based on your plan. So you do have to be coming with a significant opportunity, or just demonstrating how this particular project that you're applying for is going to level you up a little bit. So if you've released 2 EPs on your own already and you're coming in to release your 3rd EP on your own, the first question is going to be, how is this different? What's going to change with this release that hasn't happened the first 2 times? So you just need to have a good plan of where you want to go, and places like Oh Yes and To Hear are obviously great places to get advice on what that might look like. So yeah, if you're not sure how to do that, you can always find these people and speak to them about it, and they'll give you guidance.
The other thing on, just to touch on the musical examples again, if it's an unlisted track, so it's a private track that you don't want anyone else to see and you just want to share it with our advisors, make sure you include the password. Make sure that link works for the entirety of the time that it's going to be assessed. Make sure it doesn't go down. It's a really common thing when you're putting an unlisted link not to actually provide the people that need to listen to it with access to it. So just making sure that you're making the advisors' jobs as easy as possible, because a lot of the time they might not be able to chase you. We might not be able to get in touch with you in time. So just making sure that those links are accessible. The other thing is a lot of our application forms do require a budget. Now, we don't expect this to be 18 pages long and broken down into the minutiae of everything. But what it does need to do is demonstrate that you understand the areas that you want to spend money on, that you are really clear and you've done some research. You haven't just plucked a number out of the sky, because our advisors, as Wesley said, work in the industry. They work within your genres. They know what things cost, but they want to see that you know what they cost and that you know who you want to work with. And at its very core, the budget is a simple outline of what am I planning to spend, what income sources do I have coming in, and the grant amount that you're asking for makes up the shortfall. Like, I need this funding support to make up the shortfall between what I can contribute and what I need to do to deliver that. And that's its basic principle, is demonstrating why you need the grant support. We'd always recommend making use of the description notes, right? So if I put £1,000 next to recording, with who, what studio, how many days, who's your mastering engineer, let us know, again, because it's adding value to your plan and it's demonstrating that you've really thought about it. And we understand that you might not have a fixed quote because you don't know if you've got the money to be able to do the project yet. But having started some of those conversations or having an idea, I want to work with X PR company because they've done it with similar bands and similar genres. I know that they will be able to target similar places that I want to get my work into. The other really important thing with the budget is we can't 100% fund projects. So there has to be an element of income coming from somewhere other than the grant. So you do need to demonstrate either that you're able to forecast, you might have some gigs coming up, and you're going to get a fee for some of them. They haven't happened yet, but you could say, oh, I've got 3 gigs booked, it's 500 capacity and it's a 60-40 split. And that's my unconfirmed income that I could contribute to the project. So that's just a really important thing. If you're coming in for all the money from us, we're not able to fund it. We have to see some income from somewhere else.
Ooh, top tips.
Top tips.
So yeah, eligibility is really, really key. Because we have so many grant schemes, it's really, really important that you apply for the right one at the right time. It's all about timing. And so if you're unsure, you can try and get in touch with us and we can try and help out. We are a small team. There's actually only 5 people in the grants team and we look after the entirety of the UK and all of these grant schemes. So there is a lot of pressure on that. But if you persist, you will get an answer. But yeah, it's really important that you're applying for the right one at the right time. So again, with those one-to-ones, that's where we can really point you in the right direction of what's best for you and how you should approach it.
I think I've already said this, but don't rush. Take your time. Don't wait for the scheme to open to start thinking about what you might want to be doing, right? Like, you are developing a career in music. You're not going to wait for us to open our grant scheme. You know what you're going to be doing, so you can already be thinking about it. And take your time. Get someone else to read it is another recommendation. You know what's in your brain, but is it coming across in the application? Get someone who has nothing to do with music to read it, just to make sure that it's coming across. And the other thing that I would say is that don't stress about writing full paragraphs. It doesn't have to be the most eloquently written, beautifully constructed paragraph. Give us bullet points, give us numbers. Like, as long as you're getting your point across, that's all we need. It doesn't have to be these massive blocks of text. Yeah,
that's my usual top tip, actually. The number one thing I think is not to write essentially a pitch of an idea of what you would like to do, but give us the plan of what you're going to do. That's what we need. So it can be very concise and to the point, rather than woolly and vague ideas about what you hope would happen. Just give us an actual plan and you'll have a much stronger application. And I would say 90% of applications that are unsuccessful are because of that reason. They're quite vague and they don't get to the point of what you're actually trying to do, essentially. So when you do come to read through it, if there's any point in your application where you could put a question mark in, answer that question. So if you haven't said where something's happening or who's doing it or why, make sure you answer it, because the assessor's going to ask it and you won't be there to answer it, and that's the reason not to fund it. So you just have to make sure that you've covered all those bases and have all of those things covered.
I think the other thing is get us excited about your project and tell us who's already backing you, what support you've already got, why this is going to be the thing. Like, make it compelling, because our advisors want to help you make those next steps, but telling us like who you've worked with already is showing that you've got, people are backing you and we would want to back you, right? And including that specific thing, like this name, this studio, this place, this PR, all that specificity, as Wesley said, just continues to sort of build this strength to the application, that there is momentum behind you and that this project's going to be that thing. The other thing, I mean, we've talked about it, is don't be disheartened and do come for feedback. I think that's like, if I could give you one thing, it would be that. Or get in touch with us early to ask those questions, because we want to help, but we can only help if you let us. And the amount of people that don't ask for feedback, and it would have been a simple fix. So, any other top tips, Wesley?
No, I think we've touched on them all, I think. Talked about costing and stuff as well. So, yeah, I think that sort of covers it, really. I would say, oh, perfect. These are all of our social media things, and we have a newsletter that you should sign up to, because, as I said, sometimes our grant scheme dates move around a little, and then that's where we can tell you and keep you up to date on everything that's happening. So yeah, we probably have a minute or so for any broad questions, if anyone wants to ask one and be brave. Otherwise, yeah, please come and sign up to the one-to-ones. I think we're in the Capital Extra room. Yeah, so we'll be there all afternoon. Yes, yeah. Sorry.
Find a handy organisation.
Yeah. Or you can still book a one-to-one, because you should be planning ahead anyway. It takes a long time to come up with a plan, submit it, get your answer and do it. So yeah, you can be thinking ahead already, and it's still relevant information, I think.
The other thing is we run a network of talent development partner organisations that are all on our website as well, and they're all across the UK. So again, looking for opportunities that might take you elsewhere or develop you before coming in for funding. Those are also good organisations to look up, and there's a sort of directory on our website of all of those orgs. Cool. Excellent. You're going to all come and accost us in a minute, aren't you? Cool. Thank you for having us.
Well, first of all, thanks very much, Wesley and Asia, for all of that. Top tips, great advice, overwhelming amount of information, but do book one-to-ones with them, sign up to the newsletter. And the thing I would add to that is, do apply for funding. So I've been working in music for the last 15 years in London, and the amount of organisations in that time that have come to me and said, Lynn, we have this funding to give, but we have no one from Northern Ireland applying. Why are people from Northern Ireland not applying for our money? We want to give it away. So get in touch with these guys, check out what is available, and please put yourself forward. It's your money as much as it is money for someone from England, Scotland, and Wales. So use it. It's there to benefit you and your career. So yeah, go hang out with these guys, and please come back at 1:30 as well for more debate and discussion. There's lunch on offer. I'm looking at Charlene, and I think the soup is vegetarian and gluten-free. Happy days. So yeah, go eat up, drink up, and we'll see you in half an hour. Thanks very much.
They say they've got control of you. They say that you will never be free. Be free. It's all a lie.